This is Carl with your weekly livestock update for the week ending June 6th. Um, what's to say? We saw a lot of buying in the market this week again, especially in live cattle. Live cattle putting in new life contract highs, put them in Thursday and then again on Friday. Gapped higher going into the end of the week. Both of those cattle contracts did. Why the buying in the futures? Because the cash markets are rallying. Cash trade this week anywhere from $7 to $10 higher, and cash cattle trading about $20 higher than the futures right now. And really, it's becoming futures are really becoming irrelevant in cattle. It's just what are you going to pay me for my cash cattle? Anything that's not, contracted. You're seeing these negotiated sales perk up. Same as in hogs. Hog movement very light. Now we did get the weekly beef and pork production numbers here Friday afternoon. Beef production jumped 22% during the week, a big jump in beef production, back up 506 million pounds for the week. So we saw a big gain there from what we've seen in recent weeks. So maybe the cash market doing its share, getting some movement in there a little bit. Also, some movement post Memorial Day. The week before was extremely light. So starting to see a little bit more movement there. Pork production was up 10% on the week, 508 million pounds. Big slaughter number on hogs, but not enough to make up for the short week that we had before. Same thing. We're getting tighter beef and pork inventories, keeping that cash market strong. Feeders also just not willing to move cattle right now. They're sitting back saying, "You pay me what I want." Looking at the replacements, that's where a lot of it's coming from. Is these feeders just the replacements are so high that they're not going to give away their fat cattle, and they're demanding a premium for them. And packers starting to cave a little bit. Packer margins is still getting pressured, and I've said this for weeks. I mean, they continue to get pressured. Packers are standing in there though, so maybe they're not losing as much money as paper indicates. We're also heading into the summer grilling season, and consumer demand remains pretty high. Not really seeing that retail side back off. So consumers adjusting their spending like we figured they would. We did see kind of a so-so week for exports. The big highlight for exports for the week was that China was in and bought pork and a large volume of pork. Basically half of what we sold. 12,100 metric tons is what China bought for the week. No beef, actually canceled a little bit of beef, not too surprising there, but that pork purchase to me was a pretty good sign. For one, we've just been, where are we at with Chinese trade policy on a whole? We just haven't had a lot of movement there, and haven't had a lot of progress. So sitting at it, to me, the psychological part was good, the emotional part was good, but the simple fact that, we sold some pork, even better. Looking at the developments, the bird flu kind of took a little bit of a back seat this week out of Brazil. Brazilian officials expecting to see poultry exports rebound here in no time. China has taken a little bit firmer stance with Brazil, but they're also cutting some leeway. The other big disease, the screwworm outbreak in Mexico. We've seen some progress there as well. Not sure when the feeders are going to start coming back across the border into the United States, but I have a feeling as soon as we get done with this next suspension, the 30 days or 60 or whatever the USDA came up with, I would not be surprised to start seeing them feeders come back in. That tight feeder supply is why we've seen, uh, you know, the feeder contracts rally And, a big part of it, because those Mexican cattle have been shut off, that's a lot of animals that come across. And without them, we're hearing that some lots are sitting empty in the southern plains, and pastures as well. Guys not putting cattle out on pasture. Demand has really dropped here. So starting to see some pushback on these high feeder costs. My gut tells me we're in for a big shakeup in the livestock, but we've been expecting that for several weeks here, and we just continue to see buying interest come in. Like I said, we got to watch the cash market, though. Once the cash market corrects, these futures just simply don't have enough of a leg to stand under them. We saw this in Thursday's trade this week. We saw just a little bit of a hesitation, and we went from having big gains in livestock to having sharp losses, especially on the feeders. So you can see them reverses, and volatility picking up. I expect to see a lot more volatility in the cattle. If I was thinking about hedging anything right now, probably a spot to layer in some hedges on your cattle, hogs as well. We're sitting at the top end of the ranges. Funds are getting pretty loaded up to the long side. So anyway, I would expect to maybe lay off a little bit of risk in today's market. Those are the top stories for livestock this week.